but we would be, you know, thinking about it because there's Vader, and Vader would be doing power bombs and stuff like that. Later, finding out that it was just pretty much a work of what a real fight would be. And then, when I got a chance to go to the New Japan dojo, like that's exactly what it was all about. The realism and the way the fans didn't have to either. The fans didn't have to like go crazy or ape shit the entire match. Like it's just an incredibly different feeling, and really just being in those matches when I was able to do them at the New Japan Dojo in LA back in 20 years ago. Um, they just add an incredible feel to it, and it makes you want to actually up your work rate as a worker. You really do. You want to draw it in, and just because it's not, I don't know if it's so much about the pops. Definitely, it's about the work rate, and I really love that aspect about it. So, and the realism, and I like the fan reaction. A lot of it's just, oh, they don't go ape shit. I think that is going ape shit for Japanese fans, and it's just a great feel. So I'm sure that when many of you get a chance to wrestle in Japan, you could tell me about it, and how it is to wrestle over there. Just because it's what one of my goals. One of my goals I'm still shooting for. So maybe I'll be 50 years old and still do it. But those rings are rough and tough, and it's not like a lucha ring at all. Lucha rings are rough because they're like on cylinder blocks or or tires or something like that, and there's carpet for foam padding, and they're just rough rings, beaten down. The Japanese rings are superb. They're made, but they're actually probably made for like a minimum of like a 275-pound person to bump on them. Like sometimes if you don't weigh enough, you barely will move that ring. It'll barely move any bit to even bump. If you're doing something off the top rope, definitely it'll spring up, but it is pretty unforgiving. Those rings are, and I think that's maybe another reason why there's more work rate involved. Um, in the Japanese style. So thank you, Ray. I appreciate that. Anybody else want to add to what they feel on some of these matches that they watch? Yes, Matt, go for it, my friend.
Yeah, like when you were talking about trading tapes or just getting tapes, like the first tape I actually got ever was it wasn't like a real compilation, but it was just a bunch of Bruiser Brody and Abdullah the Butcher. And I grew up just like watching WWF. So when I saw that, I was like completely blown away, completely. And it was kind of like the difference between that kind of like stiff wrestling compared to like hardcore and extreme kind of style wrestling where these people are just trying to hurt or do as many crazy things with certain things, whereas like Brody and Abdullah or like the Hanson match, it was like these two guys are going to try to do whatever it takes to win the match. It's not about like how many light tubes can I break over this dude's head. It's what can I do to get this guy down and keep him down to where he doesn't get up again. Like,
Right.
and just like that little difference just makes me feel like it's so much more important. Like even if Stan Hansen's not like I'm not talking about WWF Stan Hansen, but like anything in Japan, it's like even if it's not a title match, that match feels so freaking important, and like that's the thing that just like pulls at me.
You mentioned WWE Stan Hansen. I'm pressed to even say if I even know of ever seeing him in a ring. So I actually wrote that down to look it up. But no, yeah, because whenever I think of Stan Hansen, I'm thinking of Stan Hansen from All Japan Wrestling. Um, and just to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, about the realism of it, just watching that match, that his finish is the lariat, and I guess you're right. Maybe he could hit it from anywhere, but just he didn't have to like then pick him up, whip him to the ropes, and then hit him with the standard lariat. He just hit him from that second rope, and they killed at least 60 seconds. And it didn't leave the part of, oh, come on, he's gonna kick out. I think it really left that anticipation of, will he kick out? I don't know, because that was pretty devastating, and it was
Yeah,
that you could hear it in the. I mean, I can't understand, but I love the Japanese commentators and just how they
it's
actually build
amazing.
yeah, they.
I can't understand it, but it's so much more uplifting and like emotion driven than like I get so excited when they get excited, and I have no idea. They could be saying like I want a number 5 with honey mustard, and
Oh
I'm like,
yeah,
oh my god, yes, like I have no idea what they're saying,
like what I
and
always
I'm just like
remember.
on top of it.
I always remember they would just say, "Oh, DDT," and I'd be like, "I know that," like you know what I mean. But then, oh my gosh, they would just build it up so much to where you were like, "Yeah, give me more, give me more." But yeah, that's why I love like I told you. When my uncle made me start watching Japanese wrestling, I really hated it. I was like, "Oh, this is a grind to watch." Then I grew to really just incredibly love it. It's my favorite style of just the realism, seriousness. Even just now, not only watching, but my favorite style to wrestle. I don't want to get killed in the
Yeah.
ring. I like to just do the less is more, slowed down, more emotion, bring more out of the with the simple moves that I may use. I was actually watching.
Just like make me believe that you want to win this match. Like that's all I want. Like
Yeah.
I don't care how many spots you do, just make me believe that you want to win this more than freaking anything. That's it.
Yeah, right. Because like if Stan picked him up to get his lariat in, that's more like he wanted to get his shit in than he did to want to win the match. It's funny that we talking about this. Got a chance to work with a guy named Clark Connors yesterday, and he's coming out of the New Japan dojo that's out here in Los Angeles, and just the way he makes everything, believable. Like he uses a Boston Crab and a spear, and just really builds those moves up. Real basic moves. I guess you could say a spear is like a little bit one up, but the Boston Crab, like when I was coming up, where none of us wanted to use the Boston Crab as a finisher, we thought we wanted to up the ante, maybe use a fancier finisher, even like somewhere up towards like the Indian Death Lock, figure four leg lock, STF stuff like that. But he takes this Boston Crab and just really builds this move, and then when he puts it in, geez, he had in the match with this guy named Denny Limelight, and he was just sinking it in, and it made you go, oh, this is more than the regular Boston Crab that I see on an everyday basis in an everyday wrestling match. Like, so he really made that move incredibly believable. So, but yeah, thank you, Matt, for sharing. Anyone else want to share on some of the favorite matches that they watched that actually makes them feel something? I got Maxwell and Tino next. So Maxwell, please.
Um, I mean, I've got a lot in my head, but I think the one that resonates with me most is probably the first indie match I ever saw, which was or like watched on YouTube. That got taken down like 2 days after I watched it, back in like 2013, and it was Steen and Generico in the Ladder War, last ROH match ever for both of them. It was incredible because it was the first time I mean, I'd been watching WWE for about a year then, and I was starting to be like, this is getting a little stale. And my friend was like, oh, I have this video that you should watch because it's like hardcore type things. Because you always hear about ECW when you watch WWE, and he's like, this is the closest thing to ECW that they've done on the indies that wasn't like gory or anything. And it was incredible. The ladder usage, the feeling of wanting to win, and it just made me feel like, man, there is so much more out there. And I mean, it's what, 7 years later, and I still go back to that match every now and then, and I spot something different every time, and that's the exciting part for me about wrestling. And when you're watching matches over again, is you pick the little spots and you're like, oh man, I like how he did this more, or he did that more. And just the ladder war itself, it just makes you feel like it matters, kind of. And like I'm also a big Japan fan, and it almost feels like a upscaled but also in the middle of Japanese deathmatch, which is like here American Deathmatch is like here, and it's like a little bit in between. It's got parallels of both. So I just that match just makes me feel good about wrestling more than anything.
That's great. That's what wrestling is supposed to make you feel. And you picked a great match, Steen and Generico. Like I think Sami Zayn, or Generico is just incredible. Just body movements, the way he sells, the way he makes you believe in this match, right? We didn't have an opportunity to see his facial expressions right down the line. Later, we actually get the opportunity as Sami Zayn to see what his facial expressions, how he makes it. And, not obviously not the biggest guy in the world, right? Skinnier than probably even John Morrison. But just right, can these wrestlers make you feel something, and you got to know it, right? Someone like even Steen and Generico, and we talked about Steen, like being able to wrestle in gym shorts in a gym t-shirt and still at the highest level, against John Cena and even holding the title, the Universal title at one point, and it's because these wrestlers make you feel something, and there's two great wrestlers. I remember being in CCW for the first time and seeing these guys, this group of guys. I guess they came from Canada, Montreal, and actually Generico got like, I think he fought Super Dragon, and he just got, Super Dragon. I don't know if you know Super Dragon, but he would give it to the wrestlers, and I guess he knocked out Generico, and I just remember seeing him crying in the back, and it's just a tough thing to see. And then because I've never seen him before at that point, and just saying like, is he gonna make it? Because he's in the back, and then he went in there with a tough wrestler in Super Dragon. I think that probably helped him make him who he is today. You know what I mean? Because it comes to that point we talked about, you got to be tough in pro wrestling. Whether is it fair that Super Dragon probably did that to him? Probably not. It's probably not, but it's still gonna. It led him to be who he is today. And which led him to be an incredible wrestler. You can really tell that he studies MMA. He studies the body movements, how they fall, how they get knocked out. Like, just you see that in his selling. He doesn't have this pro wrestling type selling. Like, he takes it really to another level. And I haven't seen anyone to that level since Sami Zayn coming in doing that. Right? You got your Dolph Zigglers and your Mr. Perfects, and I think you, in my opinion, put them in the same category. But I think Sami Zayn selling is just really incredible. So when we talk about selling, that's someone that you definitely want to watch on that. So thank you, Max. Thank you for sharing that. Tino, my friend, tell me about a match that actually make you feel something.
All right, so WrestleMania 21. In one corner, you have the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. The other corner, you have the Olympic gold medalist, Kurt Angle. Just the build to the match itself was just phenomenal. From, Kurt playing the heel, Shawn Michaels trying to be the veteran babyface, and then the match itself kind of over delivered. I feel like that match is like a masterclass of exactly what pro wrestling is all about. From Kurt trying to like work previous when Kurt was working Sean's back, and that was like the first time I'd ever seen somebody actually work on it, and the commentators mentioning, oh, he's working on his back and all that, and Sean showing us why he's the showstopper, Kurt Angle showing us why he's the Olympic gold medalist, and the fact that like Sean was selling that ankle lock for so long. I remember you were talking about how important facial expressions were, and if you go to that match and you see the end, how like he's just screaming in agony, and like Angle is just really just like really into it, just like you can tell that like he wants to snap this guy's ankle if he doesn't tap and everything. Uh, it made me feel like, wow, this is exactly what pro wrestling is supposed to be about. Two guys just going out there trying to prove exactly why they're the best.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. You mentioned Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle. Now Kurt Angle was working his back. When Shawn got hurt um, from that Undertaker. I don't know if the Undertaker match, but I know it was the casket, and he hit just the tip, and it didn't even look like much at all. and this put him out of wrestling, and just I thought that was it. You're never gonna see this guy again, you know. And then actually, as he came back, working the back, right, Angle working the back, right, I felt it, you know. I really felt the back because it would like it scare me because you know this took this guy out of wrestling. Not only took him out an injury, but took him out in his prime. Like you saw him in that Stone Cold match, and he had like body wise, look wise, everything. You know, on the highest peak, had so much left in him. But then you see him. You know, how much was selling, how much wasn't. Well, he wasn't selling too much because he did leave wrestling. You know, did he wrestle indie shows? Yeah, he still did wrestle some indie shows. If you look him up, he wrestled in Texas somewhere. Um, but still took him out of wrestling, and so I really felt that when Kurt Angle was working his back. You know, coming up, Shawn Michaels, probably the best wrestler in the '90s in my opinion. Um, when I saw him come back and actually wrestle Kurt Angle, I was excited to watch it. When I saw it, I felt I was already a wrestler for I don't know 15 years at that point. I don't know, maybe more, give or take. I felt like, because I'm watching it now for work rate and stuff like that, I just totally felt like, man, Kurt Angle just outclassed Shawn Michaels and outshined him. And I had never seen this, never seen Shawn Michaels get outclassed or outshined ever. He'd be in the match with Big Van Vader, and he would just outclass the guy. And Big Van Vader's coming from, you know, WCW World Champion. And just Big Van Vader looked like he didn't know how to keep up with Shawn Michaels. But yeah, that's one thing, and I just wanted to mention that because that's one thing, Tino, that I remember thinking when I saw that match. I was almost a little let down. Not that the match was bad, but I just felt like, man, like Kurt Angle's just better than him in every which way. Like, you know what I mean? And it just kind of broke my heart because that was my favorite '90s wrestler, like all around '90s wrestler. I mean, I think him, RVD, regarded as some of the best wrestlers of the '90s, if not the best. You know, but thank you, Tino. Thank you for sharing about what
What did you think about the rematch, Coach? The one they had later on in the year at Vengeance, I think.
you know. I don't actually. I did watch it. I don't actually remember anything about it, about that match, and that's how I always go into it. Like, oh man, if I didn't remember it, was it really that great? Yeah, they are. It's just like someone else had just mentioned. Like you go back and you rewatch these matches that you've seen, and you know, like the back of your hand, and you catch so much more and so much new. So I definitely got to check it out. I wrote down the first one just to rewatch it again, and so I wrote down the second one also to catch that one, and then I'll be able to give you a better assessment of what I thought of it. So, um, but yeah, you know, talking about what matches make you feel, because they got to make you feel something if you want to come into wrestling school, and start taking bumps and suplexes and get yelled at by coaches and start doing squats and push-ups, and you don't know when it's going to end, and somebody else messes up, so everybody gets punished. Yeah, you gotta love it. It's got to make you feel something inside to say, I'm willing to go through all of this to get to the other end, to get to the other side, to stand in the middle of that ring holding up the title while everyone's chanting my name or either booing me, right? Because some of us want to be heels. I think all of us want to be heels, heels and faces, but I think everybody wants to be a heel first, to be honest with you. Um, but yeah, just really what it makes you feel. Someone brought up about I think it was Max about the Steen Generico match and about it being closest to ECW, right? Coming off of watching WCW and WWF and really like 95 WWF, 93 to 95 WWF, I always say was really rough. You got Mantar, Man Mountain Rock, Radford, the Plumber, TL Hopper. So you got all these crazy, lunatic, cartoony characters. And then you got WCW, and this is before the NWO, so it's okay, in my opinion. And then we find, and when I say we, it's going to be me, Supreme, a guy named Craze One, Tech Nine, and Scott Patrick, our referee, when we would go training. And we found ECW, and our mind was blown watching this different brand of wrestling. Yeah, the lighting was a little dark. Yeah, the mat looked a little bit dirtier, you know. Obviously, the crowds weren't as huge, but the wrestling, you would see Too Cold Scorpio, and who else? Like, what did you recognize on there? I think like obviously Stunning Steve Austin, and they would bring in all these players. Obviously, Kevin Sullivan was part of it, and just my mind was blown from seeing 93, 95, Doink the Clown, WWE, you know, and then now seeing ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling, and then they would tell me, oh, it used to be Eastern Championship Wrestling, and you're catching on, and I'd be so excited to watch this every single week. And I was already wrestling at the time, but I'll tell you what, watching ECW just lit a fire under me to be like, wow, like this is now I got to see that Sabu match. Now that was just one match on a card. Now the whole show is like a car crash, you know, and I love it and I want to be part of it. And I like and I want to go through tables and use chairs and ladders and fire and thumbtacks. But yeah, so always got to say, hey, pro wrestling has to, some of these matches have to make you feel something in order to want to do that. Because I remember what ECW made me feel watching that Sabu, a Sabu versus Al Snow match, what it made me feel, and say, man, that I'd love to do that, you know. And it didn't look like it was easy, you know. It didn't look like any kind of you know, team sport. Didn't look like like when I played football or I watched people play basketball and baseball. It looked incredibly different and cool, and that's what I was really attracted to in pro wrestling. So I don't know if there was that one. I guess there was that one match, but really seeing that ECW, just as a wrestler, also just really wanted to up my game and really just try to put out. And I thought they were killing themselves, and they weren't. They were working, and I went out there. Me and my uncle went out there and killed each other, killed ourselves going out there, doing it for real. Because the ECW guys would come to XPW and they'd say, "Why are you guys so crazy?" And we'd go, "What are you talking about? You're crazy. You're from ECW." And I guess we didn't realize we were up in the ante with the death matches. So we were just like, we're just trying to be like you guys. But yeah, so that's what ECW had made me feel on that. So anybody else want to add before we get started today? I got Kristen and Living Zed. Kristen first.
Oh, for wrestling matches that make us feel something, are any of the newer stuff excluded?
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. There are some great matches in the new era, right? I think we just, you know, I wouldn't take anything away. I always say, hey, let's watch older stuff because I think everybody's watching the new stuff, and we don't want to get caught up doing something Dolph Ziggler is doing or whoever's on, you know, prominent on TV right now, and then be called a copycat of them, you know. We could take something from the 90s, you know, even early 2000s, and it would be recycled and not even known. Like Mongo was telling me yesterday about how the Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mike Tyson and Shawn Michaels angle was a repeat from some spot from the mid 70s. So I wanted to search it out. I didn't get a chance to, but I wanted to search it out. So sometimes a lot of it's always recycled and brought back around, you know. So that's why I always say, hey, watch some of the older stuff and just put your taste on it. But no, definitely not. New matches aren't excluded at all.
Okay, so because a match I would want to throw in, because you guys have mentioned less is more, would be Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso in Clash of Champions.
Okay, what did it make you feel?
Oh, definitely felt a lot of. I felt a lot of that drama involved. Especially, there's one particular moment I remember that really got to me, or at least that really hooked me in, and that was. And it's an interesting contrast compared to Guerrero versus Angle, because you know when Angle pushes Guerrero to the corner and the ref breaks it up, Angle quickly backs up, but Guerrero kind of steps forward and defiance I still got the fight in me. As opposed to when Reigns forces Jey to the corner, it's broken up. Reigns hovers over Jey as a sort of intimidation, and Jey cowers. But not in a heel cower, but in a sort of, I am completely out of my depth. What the hell am I going to do to this?
Right, like right, just like they explain it, right? Like an alpha lion and he just basically showed his dominance, and the other and now the other line is backing down and saying, okay, I got nothing left, so and it's usually never like, because I see my cats do this, and it's they never seem scared. They just kind of just put their head down like, hey, I gotta abide right now, so I definitely I wrote that down because I definitely want to catch down, because I did catch the promos were just so interesting, really drawing you in, and really that's what it makes you feel, especially when Roman Reigns is yelling at him, like, I'm the head of the table, and it's just I think it was the other way around, and but it just really makes you feel something in that, and then at that point you're just, I want to see the fight, you know it's not even about the spots or this is going to be a really good match. It's more about the drama and what it makes you feel to actually lead you into seeing some of these matches, so
Yeah, and towards the end, where Roman Reigns gets insanely delusional with, I have to be validated. And so I'm going to make sure that he acknowledges me as that tribal chief. And he goes to very far extremes, to the point where Jimmy has to be the one to throw in the towel and to break it up. But even then, Reigns isn't really satisfied, but he'll take it for now.
see, that's what wrestling is, right? All the moves and all the stunts and all the top rope dives, that's just for us because we want to do it. The drama, drawing people in, putting asses into seats. That's really that's what it's about, just drawing that in. And so I just always just want to keep driving that home as we go into, talking about some of these promos, because that's really what's going to draw people into seats. That's what, like what was it, Disco Inferno says, right? The dimes are already drawn by the time the match is starting. You know what I mean? And how does that happen? Is because of the promos, the vignettes and the lead up to these matches. And sometimes we'll listen to Meltzer, if any of you do, and they'll talk about the lead up and the build up and the go home raw and this, that, because it is really important. It is really like it's like watching your favorite television show and they just give you a non-episode before the finale. You'd be a little let down. You know what I mean? So it means so much to build it that way. I think also wrestling, though, maybe needs to be less written, more felt. Not saying that it can't be written, but just more felt out there, because I think what happens is some of the workers start following scripts. And if you're not trained on following a script, that becomes very hard, and you're not giving your heart anymore. And I think that's why sometimes we'll see great wrestlers, even in WWE, may fail sometimes, because they're out of their element. They're not allowed to do what they got them to the show. And now they're trying to follow a script, and they're like, I'm probably never used to that, So, but that's also a good pointer to think about. If that is our goal, to go to WWE, to start figuring out how to actually work with these writers, work with scripts, work with doing stuff that may not necessarily come from our heart, but still making it heartfelt and emotional, So thank you, Kristen. I appreciate that. Living Zed, let's have you, and then we'll go ahead and get started. What's some of the matches?
Not a specific match. It's like how you guys have said. It's all the moves are for us. It's for the wrestlers. The emotion is what we're trying to put across. So my first match I ever watched was 5 years old. I don't remember what it was. It was 93 Undertaker. I've tried to go back and find the exact match. But we came from England, and my brother put, they had the little TVs in the back of the airplane seats. He put on wrestling. It was the first time I had ever seen it. And an Undertaker match came on, and it just captivated me, for the whole rest of my life. Basically, that's been my favorite wrestler, just that style. Not because he wasn't, I think at that time, he wasn't supposed to be evil. He was just dark, that was his character. So it just inspired me in that way. I've always like skulls and things like that. So not if I could find the match that I saw on the plane, I'd love to know which one it was, but just I know it was in 93, and just, the character came across even on a little TV that small, right to me on
Larger
the plane.
than life,
So
yeah.
definitely.
Did you ever watch any World of Sport in England or in
No,
back? No,
no.
never caught it. So
I
your
was
first
Yeah.
Your first wrestling experience was right there then for the Undertaker match, huh?
Yeah.
Oh
I guess
man.
my older brother, he put it on in the plane. He told me after the like years after, I used to do wrestling moves to you when you were a little kid. I'm like, I don't remember that. I just remember watching it for the first time in this plane. Like I don't remember watching it at all in England. Like he must have watched it on TV himself. But that was my first time, and just so I wish I could remember the match. Maybe one day I'll figure it out. But
Well, yeah, I mean, shouldn't be hard, right? I mean, if it's you could pretty much narrow it down. There weren't as many Undertaker matches as there are today, right? I think maybe
I'm
he
pretty
might have
sure he still had the purple gloves. You know, he had the big tie going still, and
he
like the
might have
original.
only wrestled on pay-per-views at that time. I mean, I guess Monday Night Raw was just starting. He might have been on there. All right. So,
Yeah.
oh man, yeah. So thank you for sharing that. Right. What matches and what wrestling makes us feel in order to want to actually get into this, right? And so that really understanding that is going to help you moving forward, and becoming a potential pro grappler or a potential pro wrestler, as we say. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about promos. And I saw some promos that people had posted. I love Matt's promo. Matt had a great, intense promo, great tones, facial expressions. I loved the sound of his voice, the way it was just real gravelly. I mean, just really made me believe, right? And I think when we're trying to do these promos, that's what we want. So I thought I really enjoyed it, Matt. I thought it was really good. And then, so what we'll talk about today is like we'll talk about more pointers. We'll actually have some homework today where we actually do a promo. I'm going to tie your hands together and I'm going to take your characters away from you and you're going to give me promos. And we're going to try to nail basically our goal is going to be today to just nail a 1 minute promo. As we're talking about the promos today, I want everybody to start thinking about that and submitting it. And so that way I can get a chance to review it, and then we'll actually critique it and review it in class tomorrow. But yeah, I really dug that one, Matt. I saw Maxwell's promo. I gave you some pointers on that one, right? Bringing that energy, showing me the intensity, and you're gonna hear these over and over on my critiques on Make Me Believe in the Eyes. You know, Budokan came to our dojo once. Budokan is an old school wrestler. I wrestled Shawn Michaels, I think, in his debut match in AWA. And he came to our dojo, and what he taught me was about believing it in your eyes. And he would take his glasses off and he would stare me down, and it'd be like, it'd feel like 5 minutes, but I think it was maybe like 60 seconds, maybe 90 seconds. He would just stare me down, and I'd be like, want to laugh. I didn't know what to do because I was like, you're scaring me, man. And that's what he was telling me, trying to make me believe, you know. And this is coming from an old schooler. And so you're always going to hear that about make me believe it in your eyes, you know. Really draw me in, right? Emote every emotion through your eyes, right? Because the eyes are the windows to our soul, and that's actually what we want to see when we're actually cutting these promos. We want to feel that we want to feel that promo in there. And so hopefully as we talk about the tips today, it'll give you a better understanding of it to go ahead and move forward. I saw Hannah's promo. I really dug it. I appreciate it. My biggest critique, and you're going to hear this also, is right filming landscape. You know, lighting is key. You know, especially right now, like we have the ability uh, with of social media. You know, I had to find a camera, film it, put it on tape, you know, and try to mail it out. Here we have the opportunity just to put ourselves out there, you know, and get critiques from people. And as we do it, we want to have, you know, better lighting. And I think just even when we're watching wrestling, I don't know about you, but when I see a show with better lighting as a wrestler, that's maybe a show that I want to be a part of. It's just visual. And I think the same thing will come down when we're talking about promos and vignettes. But I appreciate you submitting that promo. I appreciate you putting it out there. And I love the subject of you talking about the realism inside of you. So I think that I think is going to be really key, um, and is really going to help a lot of us. I was never a promo guy. I don't claim to be a promo guy. I can cut a promo. I can cut a 30-second, 15-second, 1 minute, a 2 minute. I can get by. But I always started off not being able to cut a promo, just being scared to talk, being scared to just let anything out. They would have to sit me down. We would just do our little training matches and do training promos and stuff like that. And I couldn't cut a promo like a wrestler, so they would sit me down like a Barbara Walters interview and have the guy ask me questions, and I still couldn't deliver. I really still couldn't deliver until I was actually put with my buddy Smiley Ryan Katz, and who actually works at NXT now, helping the guys with their promos. And he helped me out tremendously and really brought the character out and just taught me about gear changes, changing, turning it up, turning it down, the tones of our voices, how we can speak. And so I thought that was just really reminded me of that. But you're already 10 steps ahead of me because you're willing to really let it out there, because I could not do it. I could not do it. To save my life, to really be honest with you. So thank you on that. For anyone else that posted a promo, I'll get a chance to watch it. But we're also going to be asking you, or I'll be asking you to post a 1 minute promo. And our goal is to hit the 60 seconds, telling us who we are. We at the same time we can add character and personality in there. And we'll give you some examples. I actually was working with Ruby Reyes yesterday, and we told her, hey, you got a 15-second promo. And this is like the little opening they do before their show. And what do you want me to say? Oh, who you are? I'm Ruby Reyes. This is Primetime Live, and who you're wrestling. And so she actually she put it in her head. She goes, okay, well, I'm just gonna. She thought it was a PSA. I'm Ruby Reyes here on Primetime Live, and you can watch me tonight wrestling Lindsay Snow. And I was like, no, you got to say, you see my shirt? This says Chingona. You know what that means? That means that I'm the baddest bitch around here on Primetime Live tonight. Lindsay Snow. I don't just represent. Yeah, I just was like, no, you got to cut a promo. You can't just, it's not a PSA. This is pro wrestling. Anyone ever tells you got 15 seconds, I don't care if they tell you got 5. This is pro wrestling. Bring it loud. In my personal opinion, I like the energetic promos. I like the loud ones. I like the Road Warriors. I like the Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, all those wrestlers. That's just my preference. As we came on to the Primetime Live, and I was helping everybody with the promos, I would tell them, you gotta bring, you gotta give me some energy, and bring the energy to me. And one guy told me, well, I bring the Jake the Snake energy. And I go, okay, man, but that's still energy. I want to see that energy and intensity emote through your eyes in this promo. Because when you're gonna tell me you're either like Jake the Snake or even CM Punk, because they're the low tone promo cutters, and they're really great at it. Like, you better bring that intensity. You can't tell me everything that CM Punk talked about like he believed, and he was angry, and he was pissed, and he wanted to punch somebody in their nose right then and there, and you could feel it when he's cutting those promos. So I always tell people that you better bring that energy is still there, it has to be there in intensity, because this is pro wrestling. And then fast forward now, I thought a lot more. I was like looking, I said, why is everyone loud and angry? And I was like, can somebody give me some of that Jake the Snake? And, let's mix it up a little bit. Same thing with pro wrestling. Whatever we're watching, hey, let's go against the grain. Everyone's doing a loud promo. Let's tone it down, So I'll be a cheerleader for the loud promos, but if everyone's doing it, hey, let's try to bring something different, to the table. So, but yeah, and everything you're doing when you're cutting these promos. And actually, what I'll do is I actually filmed a video, and I'll post it tonight, of Ruby Reyes and her doing a couple of takes on the promo. The camera director saying, "Ready to go, 3, 2, 1. Hey, can I hear the tone of your voice just for a sound check?" And so you'll hear all this stuff, how TV is made, and what's expected on just a 15-second promo. So I'll post that for you guys. I actually was filming it for everybody here today in class, so everybody can watch it. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about promos. I have homework that's also going to involve tongue twisters, and those are just for you to treat yourself. Don't cheat yourself. I can give you these tongue twisters, and you can tell me you read it, and it doesn't matter to me if you read it right, because everything that's going to come out of this is for you. A great promo is going to be out of for you. You're going to benefit from it, you know. So, and most people will probably tell you, "Hey, yeah, good promo." You know, that's it. Really, really no critique. And I'm finding out that that's what the biggest problem is with today's wrestling. As I work with a lot of the new talent, as opposed to just working with the new talent that are my students, is that people don't give enough feedback back. So I think that's something that we need to be looking for. And be able to find it. You're gonna ask, a couple of people, how was my promo? It was good. You know, that's not much feedback really to work on. You're going to ask somebody else, and they're going to break it down for you, and tell you what you didn't what you didn't do, and what you need to fix. And you're going to probably second guess about going back to that person because they didn't tell you did anything good. But that's probably the best person to attach yourself to, and keep getting critiques because they're giving you the truth, right? So, okay. What is a promo, right? What is a promo? We just say it all the time. We might hear it all the time, as wrestling fans and now as potential grapplers, right? What's a promo, right? In professional wrestling, a promo is short for promotional interview. As simple as that, right? So if you ever hear a promo and you don't know what it is, or you might just take for granted, oh, it's a promo. It's just a promotional interview, right? Because what are we trying to do? We're trying to sell seats. We're trying to sell tickets. We're trying to put asses into seats, and we're trying to pack it out, right? If you ever hear some of these wrestlers talk about, I sold that sumbitch out every single night, right? That's the goal. How good is the wrestler? Well, they actually would probably look at the ticket sales and say, this is how good the wrestler is, right? Even when it comes to who's the greatest actor. A lot of people give Keanu Reeves a lot of shit, but you look at his box office for some of his movies, and they're up there. So what does the person say? Let's book him for another movie. You know what I mean? So really, what is subjective, I guess. And so I always want to keep delivering that to you because you're going to hear a lot of different critiques. Some people might hate your promo and think it's terrible and awful. Get a second and third opinion. And if you get three, then you'll really know if it is actually terrible and awful. And maybe I should change stuff up. Or if someone's just being an ass, and just trying to shit on me without giving me, right? Tell me it's terrible and awful. What do I need to do to fix it? That's what we're always looking for in these critiques. That's what we're always asking for. Um, so now knowing that it's a promotional interview, what actually is a promotional interview, right? This is the opportunity for the pro wrestler to sell the match through their dialogue or promo, right? Having the character personality and also utilize it to advance and escalate the storyline or even the star's power. Okay, so want to think about that a little bit. A lot of the stars, right? Most of the stars can cut promos. There's a real famous promo battle with John Cena and Roman Reigns where he actually talks about it in a promo, breaking down what we call the fourth wall, and letting us backstage. And John Cena talks about, if you were any good at your job, then I wouldn't have to be here tonight. And it's real. And it's just like you could see Roman Reigns like just, man, if anyone told you that, like now it's either sink or swim. You better come up with something and deliver it. And I think he actually did. And I think like probably instances like that really define you, as a wrestler, right? It becomes to that point of now it's sink or swim. They've been pushing you to the moon, pushing you to the moon, pushing you to the moon. Are you delivering? Well, some people think you're not, and so now we're actually going to put it out there in your face, and drop that on you, so having the ability to cut that promo is really going to elevate your star power, right? It's the difference between a good wrestler and one of the greats. It really is, right? We can look at guys like even Dean Malenko, maybe even, of course, Chris Benoit, right? You can only get so far, it seems, in pro wrestling, just looking at the history when you don't have that ability to connect with that fans with your personality and your promo, Dean Malenko, an incredible technician, incredible wrestler. You see some of those matches he had on Nitro with Rey Mysterio, and he's doing some stuff that I don't even think people do today. It was so innovative 25 years ago. Dean Malenko. But then when it came to the promo, like he would say 2 or 3 words, right? You maybe how do you do that if you're still like maybe you're really good and you're just you just can't get the promo? Well, your best bet is to get with a tag team, and maybe someone that can talk. If you ever thought about it, you go, well, New Jack and Mustafa. New Jack did all the talking. Mustafa just laughed at the end of the promo. Like, oh, well, maybe Mustafa. It never dawned on me that maybe Mustafa can't talk, right? Of course he could talk, but can he do that pro wrestling promo? Probably not. He probably didn't feel comfortable doing it. Otherwise, he would have said a lot more. And you'll start noticing that. You start noticing one of these wrestlers is a better talker than the other, or maybe let's put him in there with a manager. So we're looking at even Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. And we may say, hey, Brock Lesnar can hold his own in a promo, but you put him in there with Paul Heyman and just keep him quiet like the monster that he is, and I think it builds even more for that character and for who he is. It makes him even more. It makes him scarier, So, and that's what helped me out was really having a manager that knew how to cut a promo, and that was because the booker knew, hey, Chaos is a good wrestler. He can't cut a promo to save his life, And so he put me in there with Smiley, and I would think sometimes, man, he's like, I'm not saying nothing, and like all the shine is on him, and I would just flex and pose, and I would think of one-liners, and he would help me, but like, I'll throw it to you. You say this, and then I'll throw it back because I'll take it home. And he would even say, unless you want to take it home, and I'd be like, no, man, you could take it home. Like, so I'd be scared. But learn to like have the ability to put yourself out there. Give yourself the opportunity to fail. And you'll hear Coach Bob talk about that. Giving yourself the opportunity to fail is so important, right? I should have given myself the opportunity, but especially with the promos that we were cutting, they weren't live. Nothing we were doing was live. I guess we would do in-ring promos, but not much, So everything we did, we could do take 1, take 2, take 3 if I wanted to take it home. So I wasn't giving myself an opportunity to fail, or even giving myself an opportunity to get better at that. So I want you to think about that. Giving yourself, right, if you're, that my promo sucks, I don't want to post it to the group because everyone's going to laugh at me or whatever. That's what you want. You want, hey, as long as we're better today than we were yesterday, then we're on our way. And that's all I can ask you. So if you can give me a better promo today than yesterday, then we're on our way. That's it. We can't beat ourselves down forever. If we could beat ourselves down, we're doing absolutely zero to make it better. Right? That's why I'm on high this whole quarantine with COVID about this is the time. You got to get those promos down, right? Obviously, I'm going to be on you about getting bigger, but it's about time to get your character down. Fiddle around with different characters like you have been, trying different stuff out, different tones, what works, what doesn't. What kind of reaction do I get? Because you do the hide, and people go, good promo. You do Alan Travail. Is that who it is? Or did we change it again? You do Alan Travail, and I think you get more reaction. People go, oh shit. Right? They were just talking about you yesterday about, I thought they were like Chaos. I thought you were at Prime Time or at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and I guess you sent your student. I was like, how did he grow his hair out? Because Hyde went and played Voodoo Chaos for me at one of the shows a couple of weeks ago. And they were just like Aaron and a couple of producers were like, I love that character. So I'm telling you, man, like go with it. Go with the character. Let yourself be free to find who you are, to find who Jose Alberto is, right? Something to do in the mean. This is me doing doink, man. I don't want to do this shit. But this is what's got me through the door. This is what's got me reactions. This is what's going to actually put me in a title match. And there might even give me a belt. I don't want to be Voodoo Chaos, but maybe I can get my own gear and tell them I want to be Voodoo Hyde. Okay, well, let's do it, bro. Like I want to, okay, I can at least get that. But they were in love with it, right? Because right now they're not in love with Hyde, right? That's still a sell. We still got to sell that on them. Maybe we can sell Alan Traval, but man, they were sold on that. Getting your foot in the door, you can say, hey, I could be an extra guy because I could do the Voodoo Chaos thing, and then I could wrestle as me. Here's my character. Here's a picture. Here's a video. Here's this, But yeah, so the promos are so important. That's why I've been with my guy on this whole quarantine about really working with him on the promos. and everybody for that matter, because that is what's gonna take you that next level, you know. So like I have it written here, when you deliver a heartfelt promo, you enhance your chances of relating to the crowd and building the emotional connection. And that emotional connection, right? We've been talking about it for the last 2.5 weeks, you know, whether that connection be positive or negative, right? Because sometimes we want to be the heel, so we want a negative reaction, and that's good. That's a good thing, you know. And so, yes,
I think Kennedy delivered really great promos. He was like an amazing heel, but I really enjoyed all of his promos that he did. So I think he would be someone that I would probably look up to for promos.
I thought he was great. I was actually well, just to go on with Ken Kennedy, I love the way the microphone came from the ceiling, just incredibly different. It made him. I just really remember being very excited about this new wrestler coming up, and he actually came up with a guy, Frankie Kazarian, and Frankie Kazarian was there, and Ken Kennedy was there, and they actually liked Frankie more, and they wanted him to cut his hair, and Frankie was like, hell no, you know. And so I guess I started pushing Ken Kennedy. But yeah, I just was so excited. I loved his gear. You know, he had a good body, great promos, and the wrestling was there too. You know, the wrestling was there. So I was actually I wrestled Snitsky the night that I guess was it Randy Orton broke his collarbone from Ken Kennedy doing a move, and I think that was like the night that, like, I don't know if we've ever seen I don't think we saw Ken Kennedy in WWE ever again. You know, and I thought that was just kind of foul. I don't know what the details were on that. I know that a lot of people said that Ken Kennedy was unsafe or this, that, and the other, but I always go into it like, we're going to get hurt. You know, we want to be placed perfectly, but shit happens. You know, I always thought, like, man, I just thought that was a little far. Hannah, you have something to add to that?
I was kind of curious because I guess Nia Jax had recently injured Mandy Rose. And I mean, this is like, she's injured like a handful of women on the roster where they've like actually like had to like take some time off. What do you do in a case like that?
Well, if we're talking to a mid-90s wrestler, they're going to say, well, you better get tough. People used to throw me around like I was a rag doll. It came to the point where I said, bring it. Bring it. You can't hurt me. Supreme tries to hurt me every single week. I'm in there. Whenever anybody, because I was a 14, 15-year-old kid, so whenever anyone said, I want to try a powerbomb, I'll try it on the young guy. They would never try it on Supreme. I'm the one getting powerbombed. So I got to the point where I was like, I felt, and I probably falsely believed, that I was unbreakable. No matter what move you would give me, I can take it. No matter how reckless you are, I'll come out okay and on top. Right? That's my '90s mentality. Here, I still try to probably say, expect some of these instances where you're going to get in the ring with a reckless person. Right? Obviously, what can we do? Right? Let's help Nia Jax get better to not hurt some of these people. How about that? That's number one. Okay, but if they're not doing that and I still got to wrestle her, what can I do? Right? You have to go out there and start now figuring out for every aspect that can happen, right? Accidents are going to happen, but you've got to try to figure out how to protect yourself. Oh, they're going to throw me in there, and I'm breaking down the move, how she might give it to me in my head. Do I need to maybe protect myself, protect my head, or kind of even sometimes, man, like, I'm gonna botch your move if you're gonna hurt me. I will, and 100%. Right? I'd rather go out there and botch a move than right. Maybe break a wrist. Okay, you risk getting fired. But what if I broke my neck? You know, hell yeah, I'm gonna botch your fucking move. I'm gonna just get out of it. You know, so but I always go into that. I think all around, probably everybody needs a little bit more training on what's going on in the ring, and it's because I think a lot of it is this. It's a television show. You know, if you're on the roster, they're not, you know, the writers don't know a difference on what move. All of it probably looks like it hurts to them, to these writers that are coming from Hollywood. All of it's supposed to look like it hurts, you know. What do you do in that instance? We would probably tell you, you know, pop them one, you know, right? Get stiff on them, right? Or in the back when the Dudleys were taking liberties. Can you believe this? The Dudleys were taking liberties out on New Jack in ECW and just beating them up with just taking liberties out with the chair. And what did Jack do? He waited till they came to the back, and as soon as they walked through that curtain, he busted Bubba with the chair. Um, and they got in a fight, right? Was that fucked up? What New Jack did? Yeah, maybe, but was it fucked up what Bubba did? Yeah, probably too. And then I'm pretty sure ain't no one gonna fuck with you. And it sucks, right? I scared to say shit like that. But that's the mentality Supreme and I would go into, because we would come out like, not where we didn't have Santino brothers or slammers to say we came from. Who trained you? Never heard of them. What are you doing here? Are you a backyard wrestler? Like that. Those are the questions we had to deal with. And so they would go in there. Victor Polaviv up in Simi Valley, they would send this guy in. There was their toughest guy in a federation. Send him in to like really headhunt me and Supreme. Hey, like, break them in. Like, they're not supposed to be here. We don't like them. We don't know why the promoter's booking them. And it made us harder, So then we would fight back. And then they would go, Victor Polaviv would go, oh, they're cool. And so everyone goes, what? Come on, Victor. But then he would say, I'm not going to mess with them no more. They're cool. And then we would have a mutual respect with Victor. But that's stuff that we had to do to kind of survive. I hope no one ever has to go through that, because it's scary, right? We're giving our body in pro wrestling and saying, hey, protect my body because I don't want to be hurt. At the same time, now you're giving my body, people are taking liberties out on you and then hiding it behind, sorry, I didn't mean for that to happen. And you were like, bull. Like, I know you're doing this on purpose. So that's what we had to do.
What place was that?
That was IZW, Impact Zone Wrestling, in Simi Valley. And there was a guy named Victor Polaviv. And yeah, he really brought it. I know Supreme probably held his own a lot better than I did. But he brought it to me, and that's what Supreme told me. Hey, you better give it back, or he's just always gonna punk you every time you're out there. So I kind of think about that sometimes. If people are reckless, they'll think twice about being reckless with you. You hold yourself as a very serious wrestler. They'll respect you as a very serious wrestler. So, but yeah, that's something that probably needs to be addressed. I don't know how the girls feel about it with Nia Jax. It seems like there's a majority of girls that defend her. At least that's what I see. So I don't know. And accidents do happen, and I get it. Like, a lot of times we want to blame somebody. Not saying that Nia Jax was a complete accident or was she reckless? I don't know, but we always want to blame somebody because nobody wants to get hurt. But they are going to happen. I think we all have to go in here understanding that we can and probably will be injured and or hurt in professional wrestling. And that's why we train so hard to avoid all of that. So I think the more training you get in there with the more different people, like new people. I get in there with a lot of reckless beginners. Right? Why are they reckless? They just don't know any better. And I'm feeding myself to get punched, and I'm getting punched in the jaw. So now I start teaching myself, how do I not get punched? Okay, lean in and then pull out as soon as you feel. Get out of there. You have to have that ability. And so that's what I would probably tell those wrestlers that are maybe getting hurt with Nia Jax. Because is anyone going to address that issue? I don't know. But what can you do to make it better? I can do this. I can protect myself and keep training. So long-winded, I know. All right. So, right, we talked about the truth is you could be an okay physical wrestler, but have the gift of gab, which will elevate you to the main event status, right, or featured storyline, and then you could be an incredibly great technician with no gift of gab, and it'll keep you maybe on the mid card or high mid card level, So that's how important these promos are. And then it all goes back to what we've been talking about, is the emotion that we want to feel in professional wrestling. So let's get into a little bit about what are some of my tips on giving you on doing some promos. Okay, so real simple, real easy, right? You want to know where you're starting, know where you're going, and know where you're going to end, and just like a match, right? So now we just have bullet points on what we're going to say. And then I would definitely say, right, just like a match, let's have a go home line, a catchphrase of sorts. I think it's so important to have a catchphrase or go home line. You can find yourself cutting a promo and and maybe you fumble your words, and maybe it just throws you completely off track. What can you do? You can go, if you smell what the Rock is cooking, right? Because I got to say, sometimes it seemed like he just threw that in there out of nowhere. He would just end it. I'm out of here. Or maybe you need to end a promo at a certain time, you know? Maybe you're on live television and you have to end this promo at a certain time, and that gives you an easy way to end that promo at a certain time. So I thought about that. What can I do, right? Beginning, middle, and end. Know where I'm starting. Know where I'm going, right? Know what does that mean? Know where I'm going. Well, what story are you trying to advance? What program is going on? Was Hyde Chaos's partner, and Hyde super kicked me and threw me through the barbershop window? What is going on? And we can get that point across in 60 seconds. Doesn't sound like a lot, but a 60-second promo is a long time. You know, you should be able to get that across in 15 seconds, you know, and or 30 seconds, which we're going to give you the opportunity to do, you know. So, and then also, right, where are you starting? What are we talking about? Right? So know where you're starting, right? What are we talking about? What's going on in this promo? Do I have to introduce who I am? You know, tell people, tell them a story that's going to lead where I'm going in this promo. And that's always a great way to cut a promo. You know, start it with a story and cap it around with, these are the details, you know, that meet, you know, this person's demise, you know. And just really telling that, you're going to hear that a lot. Like, people will tell you, if you ever get a chance to get a tryout at WWE, they're going to say 60 seconds. Tell me a story. What do you want me to say, right? And you better have something ready, you know, to tell them. Because going back to, you might be terrible in the drills, you might blown up and you can't do anything. But the fact is, if you're great on promos, they're going to say, well, we'll just spend 6 weeks with them in the gym and they're going to be fine, you know? So that's where those promos really come in key, you know, telling a story and wrapping around this story, and then everything that we talk about, the fire that burns inside, right? We want to make it visual, so we could see the fire burning inside you. All the words that we use, we start painting a picture. Imagine that we have a room with just white walls and nothing on them, no furniture in this room, nothing. And there's not even a light, but it's just well lit. And now think about your promo as, I have to paint the picture on what's going on in this room, you know, what's happening in this room. You know, and so as you're painting that picture, as I sit here on the L-shaped couch, right, we start visualize what people are talking about. And then you start saying, wow, I could fill 60 seconds on saying really nothing, but honestly telling a story and painting a picture. But I'm just describing the story, you know, and visually painting this picture with my tongue, you know, with the words that are coming out of my mouth. So,
hey, Coach.
Yes.
In terms of cutting a promo in front of a crowd, like, how would that go differently than like on video that you can edit and stuff?
Well, you know, obviously, right, cutting it in the crowd is incredibly more nerve-wracking. First off, you know, so that's a huge difference, right? You have the reactions from the crowd. So not only is it nerve-wracking just because you're in the middle of that ring with everybody there now listening to you, right? How many fans are going to say, what? And now you're like, I'm not commanding their attention. It starts throwing you off track, gets you off your game, you stutter. So you got that to deal with. And then on top of it, you know, whether it may be live or not, it's just being in front of all those people that are going to react or lack thereof have a reaction to your promo. And when there's a lack of that reaction, it really makes you feel like crap. But on the other end, the live promo is really great, because when you go out there and you nail it, right, and you hit your go home line, you say hide when you're laying on your back, staring at the lights, advertising the fact that your ass just got chaosified, only then you'll know. simply put, I'm simply the best. You know, and then everyone, they love it, you know, or whatever. Then that same reaction gives you that euphoria feeling, right? You can't get that backstage, right? The producer, a couple of wrestlers going to say, great promo, and it's going to make you feel good, but not like how if you get that reaction from that crowd, you know. And right here in my notes, I have a promo is sometimes better than having a match, right? Because you can connect quickly with a promo rather than a match, right? Because you can get your personality and your character across. And a lot of the times we feel when we don't have a match, we're going in, all we have is a promo, we feel left out. Don't ever feel left out if you have a promo and everyone else has a match, because that's an incredible opportunity for you to give yourself a chance to get over, you know. And same way if you go out there with the crowd, I mean, even if it's backstage, you know, behind the camera, you still want to treat your promo like an exciting match. You know, you want to have your gear changes and your ebb and flows. Your go home should be your climax, right? So we start thinking about stuff like that. But yeah, those are some of the huge differences in cutting it behind the camera and then doing it out in front of the crowd. I think everyone's like, there's a lot of people that are always still nervous, no matter how great they may be, going out there and cutting a promo. I think I told you guys a couple of weeks ago about how Rey Mysterio talked about on a podcast how just this year he was cutting a promo and how he still gets nervous. You know, he's nervous about that. So don't worry if you're nervous, right? Let's think about Eddie Guerrero. You're nervous because you care, right? You are prepared, but you're nervous because you care about it. You don't want to mess up. You want it to be great. Um, you know, so having those nerves, right, make you feel alive inside, right? And then when you hit it out of the ballpark, even better. So, but yeah, there's nothing like hitting a great promo on a live crowd, especially when there's a crowd of like 300 or more. Then that crowd now actually becomes alive. It's alive. It's not just single people yelling out. They all move. You know, they all the crowd. I don't know how to really explain it, but the whole crowd is alive, and they're actually they're actually a body in that arena, and they're an entity. So, but yeah, I hope that helps you right there, Rhea.
Hey, Coach.
Yes.
So for like live events, so is there someone out there who like gives you a time, or do you just go in there and you know you have like a time limit and you just know when to stop?
Yeah.
Is there someone who says, "Oh, well, you got 1 minute left," kind of deal?
You know, if you're in a match, for the most part, right, at primetime live and a lot of television wrestling, they're going to have someone in the ref's ear. So let's tell you how much time is left. Promo, you're not going to really have that opportunity. That's why, like in this class and homework today is going to be, and really the idea is hitting the 60 seconds, being able to hit that 60 seconds. So because that's just really important and something that you need to know. When do you realize you can hit 60 seconds? I don't know, because you'll always ask after how much time was how much time was that, and they'll go 59, and you'll go, damn, heck yeah, and you're just like, I'm just kind of going out there and I'm feeling it out because I practice and I practice and I practice, and we'll watch the time, and I'll catch some of you actually having a timer right here, and I'll see your eyes moving and watching it, right? So we won't have the opportunity to do that. We just have to be able to cut that 60 seconds. What happens if you go over? Oh, she's 2 minutes over. Well, let's hope it's not at the end of the night, right? That's probably why Monday Night Raw back in the 90s and early 2000s went over about 8-10 minutes sometimes. Because if you're going to go over at the end of the night, you're just going to get cut off, right? So if you're maybe in the middle of the show, we can cover that up. We'll go to the next match and say, hey, we're cutting a minute, you know, because Rain went over. So just to keep on time, we got to cut you a minute so that way our finish can still end at 7:30 on the dot. So there's ways to fix that. And, you know, you're never really going to end a show unless you're unless you're the wrestler that can do it. You know, if you're the wrestler that can do it, and they know, they got the utmost confidence in you that you're going to hit your promo and end it on time, then they'll set you out there to go ahead and do it. So, But going back to, are you ever really ready? I don't think so. So the first day they actually tell you you're ready, they believe in you. You may not believe in yourself, so you better start believing in yourself at that point and go ahead and do it and knock it out of the ballpark. Because I know that feeling, it really never goes away. It's just we either sink or we swim, and we go with it and we knock it out of the ballpark from that point on. So, next pointer I have here, tell a story. Right? You want to have a background, and no, and now if we have a background, right? We don't have a background to the story that we're telling, but also let's think about the background of who we are, right? We're not talking about who our character is just yet. Right now, Bob is going to come in next week and he's going to talk to you about that, about the character part of it. Right now, we're going to talk about who we are and what makes us who we are, what our goals are in pro wrestling. There's a lot of people that want to inspire people when we talked about goals. There's people that want to wrestle. This is all they've ever wanted to do, and they want to go to the big time and wrestle at WrestleMania and break barriers. So as you think about that, I want you to think about that's your background and who you are, right? It's not even hard. You don't even have to think of a character. So a lot of the hard part is, I got to think of a character right now. Well, you are who you are, and that's it, right? So know your background, right? You know your background like the back of your hand. If people said, where are you from? Where were you born? What do you like to eat? What's your favorite thing to do on a Saturday night? You know. So if you know, when we ask you about your character, I want you to be able to answer all those questions, even if in your wrestling career, your illustrious 25 plus year wrestling career, none of these aspects ever come up. What's your favorite meal? What's your favorite drink? What's your character's favorite? And this is your character at that point. What's your character's favorite movie? It might not be your favorite movie because, right, we're playing a character, right? Who are we? Are we turning it up times 12? But I want you to know all that information like the back of your hand. So if anyone so you never have to think when you're doing your character, you never have to think, right? Because if someone's asking us a question, we don't have to think, right? They're asking about us. We just let it out. Okay, let me think about that. What was my favorite? That's different. But who are you? How old are you? Where are you from? All these things, favorites, your favorite Ninja Turtle. You should have all that, man. Your character's like, fuck Ninja Turtles. I hate Ninja Turtles, right? Okay, that tells me a little bit of who you are, right? But these are the things that I want you to think about when you start building a character. So right now, we already know who we are. We know who we are. Maybe we have to find ourselves, but we know the facts about us, and so those are the same facts that you're going to have to learn next week when you start doing and it's not next week, right? It takes time to develop a character. Some of you will have it down, and be great at it. Some of you will build day in, day out and get better at it. And it's just very rare. Some people have that gift of gab from the go. Is it impossible? Heck no. It happens all the time. Matt has the gift of gab. He was able to draw me in. But we're going to talk about other promos too in this next couple of weeks that we're doing promos. I'm going to have you do homework, I think, after Bob gets done with you, and it's going to be about emotion. Cutting the same 1 minute promo, being happy, cutting the same 1 minute promo, being angry, and cutting the same minute promo, being sad. So if we can cut the 60 seconds, get that down, then we take it to the next level. And we try to draw out emotions. And once we can start figuring out these emotions, it's going to make us better. And then we're going to, as soon as they say, Rain, as soon as they tell you, cut that 60-second promo and be in that ring and do it, you'll be boom, and you're going to hit it, and you're going to be able to draw out the emotions because of it, because of the practice over and over and over until you get sick of promos. That's where I want you to be, till you're sick of them, So let's go down these bullet points. Right, let's know our motivation. What's the reason behind the promo, right? We talked about it. I got super kicked and my head got thrown to the barbershop window. I'm pissed. He was my friend, right? And especially that, right? Your greatest enemy is somebody that was your friend, right? It's really never someone that you didn't know, right? So that's my greatest enemy is Hyde, right? Because we have history. We came up together. We went to the same school together. We helped each other out. I had his back. He had my back, right? So right there, that's my motivation behind the promo. I'm already talking about my background behind the promo. I already know it. Now it can come out and really feel it. And then what I tell you about, you have to think about this whole thing as if it's real. They wanted us, and when I say us, it's me and Mongo as producers, do the Adam Pierce thing and go out there. And I really hate doing that, to be honest with you. But they wanted us to go out there and break up the girl wrestlers, Lindsay Snow and Ruby Reyes, to build something to have them come back in January. And so they were asking, should we go to the gorilla position? Gorilla position is right before you go out to the curtain, for those that don't know. So, and I said, no, let's not go to the gorilla position. We're watching it right here on television. So as soon as they throw the ref out, what happens? If this was real, we go, whoa, what is going on, Ruby? You're throwing, and let's go. This is getting chaotic out there. Let's go from where we're at. It's perfect timing to get to the ring, right? So now that was my emphasis on telling them, we don't have to go to gorilla. Let's think about this as if pro wrestling was real. In the realm of the world that pro wrestling is real, we're not sitting at gorilla. We're watching it in the back. I don't know, maybe we're playing cards, whatever we're doing, and we see it happen. Now we have to get there. So the same thing goes with your promo, right? Thinking about these promos and really believing it. When Hyde not only super kicked me, but betrayed me, turned his back on me, super kicked me, then took me, added the injury, and insulted me by throwing me through the barbershop window. You got to think about that as really get deep dive into that and really think about that and really kind of get pissed. You ever have a dream and you wake up, you're mad at your significant other, your mom, your dad, your brother, and you're really pissed. And they're like, I didn't do anything. What are you so mad about? I didn't do it. There's my dream really made me feel that, you know? And so that's what I really want you to think about and feel when you're thinking about what's the reason behind your promo. You know, what's the background behind this promo? Deep dive into it. Go into the realm of a wrestler. And this is real. This really happened to me, because that's what's really going to help you pull out these emotions. Also, you know, just to give you a tip to pull out these emotions, what makes you angry in the real life? And channel that. You know? Whenever I got somebody and they're angry, I got passed up on a spot, or somebody messed up my match, or whatever, they're angry, I say, what? That's energy that you have there. Learn to channel that energy. And I always channel it into something positive. Do something with it, right? So same thing here. Think about what makes you angry and really think about it. Let it get you really angry, and now channel that towards Hyde, because he turned his back on you, betrayed you, super kicked you, and threw you through that barbershop window. And be pissed about it. Not only in the promo, but you got to be pissed when we have this match, you know, and then chances are we're going to have a match and there's going to be no ending to it, because we're going to have to build to the pay-per-view, you know. So Shawn Michaels or Hyde's going to be able to, as soon as I'm going to get my hands on him, he escapes and gets away, which leads us to have to do a cage match, because, you know, we don't want him escaping, you know. So, and you got to really feel it as you go in there and as you talk about it and as you actually do the match, you know. What does Eminem say? Lose yourself in the music. So I'm going to tell you, lose yourself in the wrestling. Really do that. Really lose yourself there. Okay, so you're going to have producers, bookers, promoters, and they're going to say, Kristen, this is what I want you to say. And they're going to cut the promo. And you tell them, you go out there and you say, you know what, Hyde? You think you're better than me, this, that, and the other, blah. You cut this promo, and I'm going to tell you how to cut it, right? And I wrote it, so it's going to be easier for me to say. And then you might think about, like, wow, he says it so perfectly. I want him to say the promo. I want to say it exactly like that, right? So what my tip is, never just memorize it, right? Let's go back to have these bullet points, You know, okay, so what are they telling you? Okay, well, you went to the barbershop window, you know, he betrayed you, turned his back on you, and then not only that, he took your lady, you know, after threw you to the barbershop windows. Let's add to it, you know, took your lady, and you want retribution, and you're pissed, and you had so many dreams that you guys were gonna capture the tag team championships together, and that you were going to, you know, marry this woman, and you were going to go out and have babies and be the next Macho Man and Elizabeth, you know, in the good times, of course, in the good times. And now they cut this promo, they tell it to you, right? You can't just memorize it, because what's going to happen is you're going to go, you know, you you put me through the what was I supposed to say? A barbershop window, and you super kick me, and you're going to get it all mixed up because you're just trying to memorize something. Right? So let's never memorize our lines, right? Let's speak from the heart, and let's believe what we're saying, right? So Roddy Piper told us, right? Don't wrestle with all these stats. Just give them your heart, and you can never go wrong. Give them your heart, you can never go wrong. Tell them what you really feel. Why are you doing this? You know, I'm trying to keep the dream alive, and instead of complaining about Southern California pro wrestlers being terrible, I need to get into the dojo and help every pro wrestler that I can that's going to be willing to listen, right? It's not a promo, but it starts sounding like a promo because that's just coming from my heart. That's what I really want. That's what I really want to do. So you can't go wrong. People are going to feel, I felt that. You know, did you have a cool saying? Were you as cool as The Rock and talked and had, you know, turn that some bitch boot sideways and stick it up your candy ass and go down Jabroni Drive? Like, are you? No, I didn't have any of that cool stuff. I just made someone feel something a little bit different, right? That's The Rock. He could do both. He has the sayings, and he can still make you feel something, you know. But yeah, when you come from the heart, you can't get it wrong. I don't even think you can mess up. You can't mess up, you know, because it's coming from the heart. Um, we talked about, right, knowing your character, show your character's personality, right? We could say all the right words, but like Matt had to, right? He took his shirt off. He went out into the desert. It looked like he put the makeup on his eyes, you know, right? Really showing who his character. And then not only that, okay, maybe you don't have makeup. Facial expressions are going to show you, right? When we think about facial expressions, let's think about Stone Cold Steve Austin giving you a glare, a stare, burning a hole through your head. You know, those are the facial expressions that are going to make you feel something, right? And so that's what you want to do, is show your character and your personality in your promo, right? And this is when we're talking about a character promo. Promo we're going to cut tonight is just going to be us. We don't have to worry about a character. Just want you to be you. I want you to speak from the heart. Okay? Have tone. We want to switch gears. We want to talk about the promo and bring it down. And then when it starts hitting to the climax and it starts getting bigger and it starts getting better, we want to bring it up. Hey, I get it. Maybe you're a CM Punk or a Jake Atlas. Still bring that intensity. You know, because what would Jake do? He would bring it, and he would start when he wanted to get more intense, he would start talking slower and lower. And maybe even the camera would start moving in closer to him, you know. And that's how he brought. So those are those tones, those are those gear changes. Same thing as in a match, the gear changes, right? You know, so I'm giving heat to Tino, and Tino comes back and drop toe holds me, makes me look like a fool. And as soon as he tries to make the comeback, I cut him off because I'm working his back, and I gear change it up, right? So same thing. We want those gear changes in a promo. You know, we want those tones. We want to have different tones, you know. Um, Building our promo, we talked about that. Building like an exciting match. Showing it in their eyes. So important. So incredibly important. I don't know if I told you guys about Bret Hart with the glasses. Did I tell anyone about Bret Hart and the glasses? No? So I read a book, and I don't know if it's in his autobiography because I didn't read Bret Hart's autobiography, but there was a book in the late 90s that was out, and it was just a really thin book, but it was talking about Bret Hart. And Bret Hart was actually saying about the reason I wear my iconic glasses, and he didn't say that. I'm adding that in to make the story even better. The reason he wears these iconic glasses is because he cut a promo, and it was a pre-tape, right? And so he cut a promo, and he saw his eyes just going back and forth, left and right, up and down. And and they went back and they saw the promo, And Bret Hart was like, no, I got to cut this again. And so he went and grabbed a pair of glasses. I guess these were the glasses he wore that day. And he put them on because his eyes were just all over the place. He was nervous, you know. It was nerve wracking to be in front of that camera, right? Probably wasn't Stampede Wrestling anymore. This is the big machine at this point. He's coming from Stu Hart, his father, Stampede, little family run, you know, federation. Now he's at the big time in New York, you know, and probably was really nervous. So good thing about that is, right, he was able to hide his eyes because then maybe we wouldn't have taken him so seriously from the jump. And then also, right, the eyes actually became a gimmick that he could sell, became you know who he was, right? If we ever going out there and we want to be Bret Hart, we're gonna take our jacket, right? We're gonna pull it down and we're gonna do this, right? And we're gonna try to find some cool glasses. And as soon as we pull the jacket down and do this, people go, okay, that's not Macho Man, that's Bret Hart, you know. So you really want to think about that. We want to think about our eyes. We don't want to be Bret Hart. It could be a good thing. Could end up being a good thing for you, you know. Could have been a terrible thing for him. Maybe he could have never gone to the main event status. But he was able to get his eyes under control and be able to cut a promo without moving them. But that's what he said, you know, when he first started. So we want to draw all this emotion. We want to draw this audience in with our facial expressions, with our eyes, and when we're speaking these promos, because it means so much, right? We can cut a promo and you can see it, right? That's how we tell. This person's lying to me. You know, you can tell, you go with your gut, you can see it in their eyes, right? So same thing. If you don't believe what you're saying, you're not going to believe it in the eyes, and then now nobody is going to believe it, your promo, right? Because so I'm going to go with, you know what, you know, Chaos doesn't even believe his promo, so why should I believe him as a fan? I can see it in his eyes, you know. So you really want to start thinking about that, thinking about how do we do that, right? Well, let's go back to thinking about what makes us angry and start looking in the mirror and try to really get angry. Here's a great thing. When you're really angry, look at yourself in the mirror. Look at your eyes. Go back to, oh, coach wants me to look. I'm pissed right now, but let me go. This coach wants me to look at myself because I'm pissed. You know, when you're really happy, look at yourself. When you're very sad, look at yourself. I'm sure we all look in the mirror when we're sad, you know, and figure out what makes us sad. Now we know what we look like when we're sad. Now let's figure out what makes us sad. Now, can we draw that emotion and emote it out of our eyes? Have it come out through our eyes, you know, because it's so important. I think it's so important to do that with your eyes in that promo, because going back to thinking about, let's even think about The Rock. We talk about Stone Cold's eyes, or I talk about Stone Cold's eyes all the time, but The Rock had that eyebrow, right? And that was the real deal, at least to me, when he did that, when he did the eyebrow, you know, and it's because of his eyes, or he would even move it. He would put his sunglasses, I think he put them down, you know, to show his little eye movement, because that's what we're really connecting to. So that's going to be so important as we're cutting these promos, as you're cutting them, because you're probably going to cut 2 or 3 or 4, and you're going to look at yourself and you're going to look at your own eyes. And you're going to say, hey, I need to do it again. That wasn't good enough. And then you're going to say, hey, that first one was actually the best. I couldn't draw the emotion anymore, you know? So that's something that I want you to work on, is that, yes.
How can we avoid repetition in a promo?
As in just saying stuff over and over?
Yeah, like being very repetitive with yourself.
Well, I think, let's go back with have a beginning, have a middle, and have an end to your promo, right? How are we going to end it? And that's our go home. What's the story we're telling? So I think that's going to be so important. And just have that, and just put it down in bullet points on a paper. Look at your paper, read it. Okay, I'm going to do the promo now. Let's go do it. Are you going to head out of the ballpark? You know, maybe not. But practice is going to make it perfect, you know, and people will tell you this is a good promo, this is not a good promo. You'll know it's a good promo. How does it make you feel? What was the reaction you got from the crowd? Whether it was taped or not, right? You'll still get a reaction. People will say that was a damn good promo, you know? So, all right, moving down the line here, right? This is a great, Matt, do you have a question?
Real quick, I just want to say.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something. Whether you get it as a book or like on an app or something, get a thesaurus, and just every time you are like writing down notes for a promo, pick like it means the same thing but is a completely different word.
That's a great point.
Um,
I totally have that on my list. You'll see it on the notes. But yes, get a dictionary, get a thesaurus. Did you know that Brian Pillman, right? He's really great at promos. Really great at promos. He would carry a thesaurus in his bag, and I think you hear Stone Cold talk about it. Either it was in his book or in a podcast. But you'll hear him talk about how Brian Pillman wanted to be so different that he would read the thesaurus from beginning to end. And that's one of my, I'll go to it now. Get a thesaurus, read it the whole thing, get a dictionary, and read the whole thing. Really, read the whole thing? Yeah. Yeah, read the whole thing. Read a page a day if you got to. You're gonna read all these words. Nothing's gonna click. Nothing's gonna click. Now, you'll start catching words here and there. They're gonna stick with you. Write them down. Utilize them in a promo. Try to utilize them organically and naturally. It's totally gonna help you. Thank you, Matt, for bringing it up. That's a great point to be added there. Is that the source is gonna help you, right? And I always say, get a book and put it in your bag. Your battery is gonna die out on your phone. So that way you can have it in there, because when your battery dies out, then you have an excuse and say, well, I can't go to the dictionary, couldn't go to it because my battery died, right? Or I need to save the battery for later tonight. Get a book, put it in your bag, right? Among other, a hammer and a sponge, among other things to put in your bag. Why a sponge? Every time you open your bag, to remind you, I am a sponge and I want to absorb every knowledge, every piece of knowledge that I hear in this locker room. And why a hammer? Well, in case the shit goes down, you got something in there to protect yourself with. But those are coming from the days of Sabu saying, I got a spike in my boot. So yeah, we carry a hammer in our bag and just be like, I don't have a knife or a weapon. I just have a hammer in my bag. But anyways, keep that thesaurus right next to your hammer. All right, so let's see here. This is a Ric Flair one, a great one. I see it. I always saw it in Ric Flair, right? Build your opponent up, then chop them down, right? Rather than just chopping them down, right? Otherwise, you're just facing a jabroni, and most likely, what does that make you? A jabroni too, right? Right. So let's build them up, right? I could say, Hyde, you're only a year in this business. You got 14 matches under your belt. You couldn't lace my boots up, kid, right? Just shitting on him. All right, so why do I want to see this match now? Right? Let's build him up. Hyde, you're a 14-time All-State CIF college champion wrestler. Never defeated once. Holding all those titles. I've seen the pictures of you holding the titles, the medals around your neck. But let me tell you something. You're stepping in the ring with the Rock Superstar Chaos. Oh, geez, you got me there. But you're stepping in the ring with the Rock Superstar Chaos. And when it's all said and done, you're laying on your back advertising the flag, blah, 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 right? So I want to build him up. It's so important, right? And you'll always see that in Ric Flair's promos. He builds them up. 14-time champion, never beaten in the Carolinas. Every fan in the audience wearing your T-shirt. Every fan rooting for you. You're stepping in the ring with me. And now it's a different story because I'm a different type of fighter than you've ever faced before in your life. Right now it's okay. Now we'll put him over. Now I'm going to go ahead and put myself over and chop this person down. Right? So I think that's so important, is to never I'm just wrestling this nobody, right? Because we always think about it as a rap battle or promo battle where we're just ragging on the person or roasting the person. It's never just about roasting them. We got to build them up, and even the best roast are the people that build them up and then they chop them down. And I think those are the best roast. So now we're thinking about, we should be watching not only promos. I have a list of promos for everybody to watch, but maybe we need to also watch, right, improv, stand up, and see how people react to a live crowd. Because we're also going to give you an opportunity to do a promo battle where we're going back and forth. I'll usually bring in, and Hyde has been in on all of them, and I'll usually bring in a guy like Slice Boogie. who has got an incredible skill to just see you in your video right now, and he'll take a look about what you have on your wall, and he'll read it, and then he's just now throw it right back into your face on a promo as he's building you up and then chopping you down. I mean, he's got that great ability. He'll go up to you and he'll say, like, "Hey, man, well, you used to play soccer, or I see that you lift a lot of weights. Like, where do you go to the gym?" And then you think he's just trying to be your friend, and he goes around and turns it around and uses on you, right, Hyde? But yeah, he's got that great promo battle skill. That's like unheard of. I think we've seen some wrestlers that do that, right? Eddie Kingston, I think Kevin Owens are two of the recent wrestlers that come to the top of my head about having that wit and that quickness in them to deliver a roast right back in a promo. I remember seeing Kevin Owens do it when he was wrestling Hideo Itami, and Kevin Owens never messes up on a promo, but he flubs his words, and you can hear everybody. And at this time, this was like, I don't know, 2013 or I don't know 2014. I don't know when he came in, but NXT was kind of becoming like this indie. It wasn't like a WWE show. It was becoming like this indie, and so everyone went, "Oh," and like because they usually say "what" or whatever, so they went, "Oh," and man. So Kevin Owens, right, the master at promos that he is and having the wit, he says, "You got me so messed up, Hideo Itami, that I sound just like you right now," cutting the promo. And they all start laughing at Hideo Itami standing in the ring. And I go, I feel so bad for this guy. He didn't mess up. And now they just jabbed him. He doesn't even have a mic in his hand to rebuttal or anything like that. But just having that wit and that gift, right? They're about to rag on you and you turn it around, so important, so those are the pro wrestling tips and promos that I have about building up. But let's talk a little bit about, and then I'm also going to have these tongue twisters that I'm just going to put in the notes. And I know I was late. I put the notes in this morning, so I apologize for that. So I'll get these notes right in after class, and so that way we can have that right away with those tongue twisters, right? It sounds silly. My best friend, one of my best friends, Joe Schmo, who is a writer at WWE, and he would help all the guys with the promos, and these are the tongue twisters that he had, that he gave me and came up with, and he would have all the WWE guys utilize these tongue twisters. Why? Because we get mixed up on our words and we flub them. Why? Because same thing you're going to hear in a wrestling match. Slow down. So in your promos, slow down. Enunciate what you're saying. Don't doubt the doorbell, but differ with the doorknob, right? And you're going to be like, what is this preschool crap that I am reading? Right? Treat yourself and read the whole thing. Read it like 3 times over and read it out loud. You can't just read it. You have to read it out loud. It's a must. Go into the bathroom, figure it out, go into your car, read it out loud, do what you got to do to make it happen. But they get run over sometimes, these tongue twisters, but I want you to go over them and read them. We just don't do them in class. We sound like a preschool as we do them, but I want you to do them on yourself and at home. So let's talk a little bit about this promo that I want from everybody for tonight. So, right, we don't have to worry about a character, and I don't even want to see your character right now. Bob is going to ask you all day about that next week. So I want to see you, and I want you to talk from the heart, right? The way I just spoke about Santino brothers and what I want to do, what my desires and dreams are. And it starts becoming and sounding like a promo because you can't go wrong when you're speaking from the heart. So I want you to speak about what you want out of pro wrestling. You could speak about who you are, right? You obviously got to say who you are. I think a great thing to add in is, maybe where you're from. You don't have to. You don't have to add in where you're from, but you definitely got to say your name in this promo. You have to. Introducing yourself, let me know what your motivation is to be in wrestling, to be a part of professional wrestling, right? So it's like going back to this goal that we talked about earlier, but now I want to hear it in a heartfelt promo from you. And I want you to be able to hit 60 seconds. Do you hit 57? That's okay. I'll accept it. 56, I'll accept it. 103, I could work with that. 104, I could work with it. 105, ooh, we're pushing it. 106 is going to be a little bit too much. 110, we're way out of the ballpark. We got to shrink it down. And I want you to cut this promo in 1 minute and 60 seconds. Because when we come back tomorrow, the homework that we're going to do tomorrow night, we're going to cut it again. 30 seconds and 15 seconds. And I want you to say the same amount in 15 seconds that you would say in 60 seconds. So how do we do that? Right? We do that with visually painting the picture in our promo. Having these words that make us see what you're talking about, right? We talked about that, right? We talked about Hyde stabbing me in the back, his blade burning through my back and stinging and feeling the fire of betrayal, right? That he bestowed upon me, right? So that's what I want to hear in your promo. Who you are and what really comes from your heart. Don't knock yourself out about it. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just go ahead and try to hit that promo at 60 seconds. I want to hear the tones. You're gonna have the clock right next to you. You're gonna have to cut it with it. If you see your eyes move, coach is gonna call you out on it. So maybe try it again. If that's the best you got, then submit it. I'd rather you submit something rather than nothing, right? We can go ahead at the end of the day, and we don't have to submit any promo. I might not even call you upon and say, Stephanie, you didn't give me a promo, right? It's not for me. This is for you. Right, so this is for you. So I want everybody to be excited about submitting these promos, cutting these 1 minute promos of who you are. I'm Joey Chaos. I wrestled as the Rock Superstar Chaos out here in Southern California. And instead of complaining about the terrible talent that thrives here in Southern California, I want to help make it better because I find myself complaining about it and shitting on these young wrestlers as an older wrestler, I should help them out. I should help their game to elevate it, to take it to the next level. And that's what I'm going to do. It's going to be hard work. It's going to be blood, sweat, and tears and financial money putting involved in trying to get a ring and posting a building and drawing students in and helping them live their dreams because I don't just teach professional wrestling. We change people's lives here at Santino Brothers Wrestling. I hope that, what was that? 40 seconds, like my man's crying over here. I don't know. I think that was about 40, maybe 40 seconds. That wasn't quite the minute, but now I would take that. All right, let's do it again. Maybe I need to pause a little bit more, think a little bit more, show more facial expressions, bring it down. I was real up here. Okay. I started here and I came and I stood here. All right, let me bring it up and down and up again. Maybe let's do that. Let's mess with it. Right? Are you going to get it on the first try? No. Hey, if you do that, it's great. Awesome. Submit it. But I guarantee you your second or third try probably be better than your first one. Even if you knocked it out of the ballpark on the first one. So and that's how we're going to get better with this. Right now, we're worried about hitting that 60 seconds. That's what we're worried about. Tomorrow, we're going to be worried about hitting that same promo or hitting a promo and now changing emotions, happy, sad, angry. And so we're going to start working on these, getting better at them, and putting in that practice in order to make it perfect. When I started, if I was able to cut that promo, I'd have been able to elevate myself. Now that I know these tools, now that I'm not wrestling, I go, damn, I wish I knew this stuff when I was wrestling. It makes everything so much easier. Just talk about what you're passionate about. Try to now, how can you hook it to who you're wrestling, right? Okay, well, maybe you can't talk about the wrestling school, but you can talk about your wrestling school in a promo that you're fighting Hyde. That's what makes us become creative. And that's what I love about professional wrestling, right? It's not just MMA or boxing fight to see which competitor is better, right? Wrestling takes you on those emotions, right? It's a soap opera that really drives you. It's like what Kristen was talking about with Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, and just really feeding into the head of the table, and holding his hair while he's knocked out. Man, it builds for so much that I don't care what they do in the match. I just want to see it now. Right? Going back to Disco Inferno saying the dimes have been sold. it's already a great match. It's sold out, you know? Going back to what makes Andre versus Hogan on top the list of all-time greatest matches. It's there. Probably 8 times out of 10 list, you know. The slam? Was it the spots? Was it the move? Was it the emotion? Was it the story in the match of Hogan lifting him and can't lift him? He hurt his back, lifting the second time, falls on him. The third time, he finally can slam the Giant. Led everyone to believe that the Giant has never been slammed in his life. We go on YouTube, we'll see Andre the Giant get slammed day in, day out, even by Harley Race in the middle of a match, not even the finish, you know? But now we could take this body slam and make it mean so much more because of the promos leading up to it. Hogan and Andre, right? I didn't know Andre was hurting at the time. He looked intimidating. You know, that's their what story are they telling? You know, and I think that's what really is going to draw people in. It's all the promos before your match. Then you have a better chance of making it a great match. Even if 3 minutes in, another one that's tops the list on most matches is Stone Cold versus The Rock. 3 minutes in, there's that. I wouldn't say it's a botched neck breaker, but definitely it's not clean. You know, it's definitely not clean, but they go with it, and it's still on the top of the list, right? So it's not even about them. What do these matches make you feel? When The Rock takes Stone Cold's or vest and puts it on and wrestles for it for like 4 or 5 minutes in the match, right? So if you're a Stone Cold fan, you're like pissed. You're pissed off. What is it making you feel? You know, and so that's what we're moving into as we're cutting these promos. So. Does anybody have any questions about the homework, about what I want from you? We got one night to do it, right? We got tonight, all day tomorrow. Turn it in before 6 o'clock. I'd like it in earlier than that, maybe at least 4 o'clock at the latest, so that way I have a chance to watch them before class. We'll also watch them during classes, during the class, and I want to give you the critiques live on that. So,
Coach, you want us to post it on Facebook, right?
yeah, put it on the Facebook group.
Okay.
Yeah, put it right
Okay.
there in the Facebook group. That way we all can see it. And then just to add, all the notes, so they don't get mixed up, they're in this thing called announcements on that group. So if you ever need to refer back to some of the notes and you're like, where the heck are they? You can just go right there and find it. Matt, did you have a question, my friend?
No, that was my question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, post it right there. And everyone could post a new thread, and then I'll comment with my critiques. And as we've seen, Ruby Ray's and Bob have been commenting. I don't know if Bob has just yet, but he definitely will. And my friend Bob is larger than life, and I think you guys will love him just as much as I do. So, talking about some of the best match or some of the best promos that I love, and you're gonna have this on the list, but some of the ones that I have highlighted here that I love. Dusty Rhodes, Hard Times. I mean, you can't go wrong. Um, the man is speaking from the heart. You know, the contrast between him, the son of a plumber, and Ric Flair. You know, limousine riding, jet flying guy. Just really from the heart, the hard times and the story that he tells. Right, he talks about you work at a job for 30 years, Daddy, and they give you a watch and say that's it. A machine took your job, you know, and it's just makes you feel it. I'm pretty sure people that really happened to. And Dusty's talking to him. He even puts his hand out in this promo, like he sounds like a preacher. He really does. He puts his hand out, and I'm pretty sure all those workers that got fired because a machine took their job, Daddy, that I'm pretty sure they felt him, and they probably loved Dusty Rhodes for the rest of his days. You know, so that's one that I love. Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man. I love that promo. I think it's a cocky classic heel. There's another one that he has that's referred to as "You're looking at the man," and just I like his tone in that promo. I really do. I think his tone is incredible on that. And speaking of Ric Flair, like one of the greats. Um, can't have a list without The Rock. You know, I love there's a Rock promo, right? They're all really great. I love the Rock concert of 2003, and there's also a Rock promo from December 4th, 2000. And I think he actually mimics a lot of different people, Kane, Undertaker, and just shows you different emotions through this entire match. But I just always think the Rock is he has, he oozes charisma, is captivating, and is absolutely entertaining in his promos. Another one that I love is Eddie Guerrero turning heel from May 12th, 2005. And he just paints an emotional picture about how he tells Rey Mysterio, "Do you think this makes me happy?" And just to hear the tone of, "Do you think this makes me happy?" You know, because he turned his back on him, and now he's turning heel. "Do you think this makes me happy?" Going back to now, a heel doesn't think they're wrong, right? They're justified. They are not the bad person. No way. I'm justified in what I'm doing. And I think Eddie plays that role incredibly great. Um, Steve Austin, shoot promo from ECW. I thought that was great. I thought that was from the heart. He got fired off FedEx, and he cuts this promo, talks about Eric Bischoff and Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, and really gives it to them. And I thought that was really a great promo. And that one's from ECW. Obviously, you can't have a promo list without Austin 316. Jake the Snake is on his Bible tour. And so Austin just beats, and I really thought, oh, they're gonna put Jake over because he's got a good message, and they put Stone Cold over, and not only did Jake have a good message, but now Stone Cold goes out there and says, "You sit here and you thump your Bibles, talk about your Psalms and your John 3:16s. Well, Austin 3:16 just says, I just whooped your ass," and everybody loses it. T-shirts are made, and then it becomes history. How many people on their pagers at the time, you would call the pager, and then the Austin 316 would come so rattled because they'd steal it from the TV or the VCR, and they would have that promo on their pagers because they loved it so much. Another great one is Scott Steiner's Percent promo. It's incredibly witty. It's larger than life, and it makes sense, 100%. Like, he's not just bullshitting you. He's doing that math. You're like, if you're following his math, yeah, he's with it. He's definitely with it. So, but yeah, that was a great promo. Petey Williams comes in at the end and throws his punchline. I know some people said that made the promo. I don't know if I like that part. I say just let the man end the promo. Let's cut the promo when Big Papa Pump starts talking. Let's not even put that Petey's part in. But I know there's people that actually like that part of the promo after he cuts this great promo and Petey comes in with his one-liner. Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes might be my favorite wrestler right now. I think he's got everything going on. He's got the look, the body, the charisma. And then watching his promos, I think, are really great. I mean, they should be, right? But it's not a given. Just because your dad is the promo master doesn't mean you're going to be the promo master. I mean, Dustin is the promo master, Yes, sir.
To go with Cody, a lot of times, like you said, don't memorize lines. Do you think he writes out his promos and then uses that to create his bullet points from? I know he's not memorizing line for line, but his promos are so just like detailed in the way he says his lines and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he could, and right.
Is that something people do? Write out some type of notes?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I did that. I thought that's how you did it. That's the only way I could think to do it. I couldn't just think off the top of my head what to say in this first promo. So.
Right. No, and I think definitely people do write it down, right? I think the difference is just don't write it down. And if you write it down, you can memorize it. Now you're writing it down, but don't try to memorize anyone else's words. But at the same time, don't try to memorize your words if your delivery is off, right? Your delivery has to be there. That's why I'm always saying come from the heart, but write it down. Because then you just see the bullet point, and you're like, oh, I already know. I already know. I have 15 seconds to talk about that bullet point right there,
Because when I was writing it down, that's what was coming from the heart, was what I was trying to come up with. And then to then turn that into emotion, I think was the next step I got to work on.
Yeah, and you're going to write stuff down. You're going to have a whole paper full of bullet points to write down. And when you cut your promo, you're like, wow, I couldn't fit it all in, or I didn't need to put all of it in, And that's definitely going to help you. Yeah, so I totally would write it down. I don't know if Cody Rhodes does, but never try to get into the habit of memorizing it. If you memorize it and you're an actor and your delivery is great, then you could probably get away from it. You probably get away with it with doing that. But most of us aren't actors. I probably would tell you to take improv and acting classes because it definitely would help you in professional wrestling. Is it needed? Probably not. Right? Probably all the greats that we watch aren't actors. We're pro wrestlers. It comes in a different realm. But Cody Rhodes, his undesirable to undeniable promo, really just like what kind of promo is that? Something to prove promo, right? We talked about Austin having a pissed shoot promo, Flair having a cocky promo, Dusty Rhodes promo from the heart. Cody Rhodes also is a promo from the heart, but also what's the theme is he's got something to prove, especially in that promo that he cut in AEW. I think if you type in undesirable to undeniable, it's like 6 minutes with Tony Schiavone. But yeah, I think that is a great one to watch. But I'll put the rest of the list on there for everybody. I have a bunch of other promos for you to watch, and then also same thing. Let's go into it. Let's post promos that everybody likes, so that way, if we're not looking at these gems, you can open up a new promo for us to find out and check out. So reminder, the promo. Let's cut 60 seconds. Let's tell a story about who we are and have it come from the heart. What is our motivation to enter the world of professional wrestling, or what is our motivation to be a pro wrestler? And I think you can't go wrong. I think the hardest part is going to be hitting that 60 seconds. You're either going to have not enough or you're going to have too much to talk about. But let's hit that 60 seconds, okay? All right, so I'm going to post this notes right away. I'll get the video up as soon as I can because I know, we were missing at least 6 or 7 people today. So that way they'll be able to catch up and watch it on everything. So, all right, everybody, let's bring it in. I appreciate you being here on Wednesday night. Let's go in and watch some AEW and some NXT. Santino's on 3. Santino's on 3. 1, 2, 3. Santino's! All right, everybody, you have a good night. Get me those promos.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
See you guys. Good night.
See you tomorrow.